This is an incredible, remarkable woman who had devoted her life to the public service. You cannot even think about what would be a great introduction for her, because there's so much about her that you don't know where to begin. New York City Council member Gale Brewer. Did I say it right? I said it right.
Perfectly, Sissy. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm very glad you came by. I know how busy you are, so for you to make the time to come by, I appreciate it very much. Reading about her is incredible, guys. I tell you, this woman, she has served for over 40 years. That's a lifetime. Dedicated to the public service, which is remarkable. She represented the Upper West Side and North End Clinton of New York. This is very interesting. I wanted to mention this. I don't want to forget that during your time in the City Council, you successfully passed many progressive laws that reflect your commitment to open government, health, and human rights, quality of life. This is a woman who gets out there and she grabs the attention and she cares about the people. You know, politicians, I don't know how often do they really care about what's going on out there, how to make your life, my life, our lives easier. We live difficult times. Everybody needs more money. We got to pay bills. We have to survive. We need affordable housing. There's a lot of problems, and you don't see very often people, women, politicians who deeply understand human behavior, people who really understand what it's like to be out there when you don't have a job, when you don't have a place to live, when you don't have insurance. This is the stuff that people want to hear about. And you know all about it. You dedicated your whole life to this. So
well,
this is
the good news in the council, and then obviously I'm running for Manhattan Borough President, but as a council member, you can actually do something about, sometimes on the individual level. This week alone, we stopped 6 evictions. Just as a staff and a council member, you know, calling the city, calling the legal aid attorney, dealing with different agencies, talking to the management, talking to the person who has issues, and saying, we're going to do this and this and this. You put the pieces together.
Right.
The problem is bigger, though.
Right.
And so you got individuals, and then you got this big problem of 50,000 homeless people every night in New York, and you've got the issue of not enough federal support for low-wage workers who need affordable housing, like you said.
Right.
So in the council, you can do the individual who comes to you.
Right, but how long does it take?
It takes a while to save an eviction, but the bigger issue, you're right.
Yeah.
Of more affordable housing, jobs that pay a living wage, schools that, you know, everybody wants to go to, not just some schools. Every school needs to be good.
Right.
And then, you know, the everyday person, I don't know, I hope the Obama health insurance works.
Right.
I'm learning about it. I know I have a lot to learn. And then just the issue of, you know, trying to make all the bills. It's not easy.
It's not easy because there's a lot of pressure, and I guess everybody's hurting. We live in very difficult times, and the stakes are very high for the president, for everybody.
They are high. They are high. And it's interesting because I've been petitioning, you know, all through Manhattan and talking to people in the subways, and which I do often, but I'm obviously doing it more now.
Right.
And the issue is that, you know, transportation is a challenge too. You know, just coming and getting to work. Some people have disabilities.
Right.
I think people are, it's a little bit better than it was like a year or so ago in terms of the economy, but still people are working more jobs but low wage jobs.
Right.
And I think that's one of the big issues. We have jobs, but we don't train people enough for the kinds of jobs that we have. We're not making that match.
Right.
So I'm hoping that that could change in the next couple of years. We need to train people if it's technology or tourism or hospitality or, you know, whatever the job is. We need, you like to see these jobs in the paper or online now, but you don't always see them filled because the job skills don't match the jobs. We got to work on that.
But even people who have regular jobs, we're talking about working class, not necessarily people who came from college. I mean, it's a mix. That's how we get the economy rolling. And it's like, how do you make it work? How are you supposed to pay your bills, to pay your mortgage, to send your kids to school, to live life on the daily basis with the minimum wage. It's impossible. This is New York.
You can't do it on minimum wage. There are two issues. One is the federal government has unfortunately cut back on any kind of Section 8 voucher or public housing, or in the past we had the kind of support from the federal government that some people could pay only 30% of their income, no matter what it is, for rent. And then the rest of it would be food and whatever else.
Yeah.
The issue is the federal government has cut way back because of the Republicans in the House.
Right.
They didn't even pass the food bill recently.
Yeah, they
don't even like food stamps.
They don't want food stamps, which is, to me, I don't know, do they forget what's happening?
Right.
Do they have awareness? I wanted to ask you, because you're so committed to the public, so committed to public service, do you remember when you started becoming aware, when you start developing that social awareness? Oh, I want to live my life to make a difference. I want to make it better.
Well, I was always an activist.
Right.
I don't know
Back in the 60s?
Yes, I was in high school even organizing.
In the council? You were like something like,
I was on the city council.
On the city council.
Not even the city council, the student government.
The student.
But I did organize for Eugene McCarthy. That was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And I also organized anti-war, because I was sort of on the cusp between, I graduated high school in the late 60s, so I had a little bit of the Vietnam War into the college, in terms of organizing. Mm-hmm. But even in high school, we had some demonstrations against the war. Right. So yes, I would get high school students to go to demonstrations or whatever. But I was doing it not for public service, but to make change.
Right, to make a difference.
I wanted, make change. And you get skills that way.
Right.
And then I was always part in New York. I was head of the National Women's Political Caucus in the 1980s. In addition to working, this was like a volunteer thing. And we definitely did. We were still fighting for the Equal Rights Amendment then. We were fighting environmental issues, pro-choice. Some of them haven't changed.
Right.
And we also were fighting for, in the early days. I remember we used to fight for the 911 operators. To make sure they had bathroom breaks. Those were the kinds of things in the 1980s.
Right.
And they didn't. They did not have bathroom breaks. Right. Now, of course, they do, and we have other issues.
Right. There's always something new.
Always something new, but it always kind of harks back to people's basic rights.
Now, what people tell you, I'm kind of curious, what people tell you in the subway, when people talk to you, what do they say?
Well, the subway people, I think, again, it's better than it was in the 1980s in terms of showing up.
Right.
I find the main problem now is the buses.
Right.
A lot of older people take buses.
I do take the bus all the time.
They bunch up, and you see long lines waiting for the bus. And then, so I think buses, I get more complaints about buses
than subways.
Than about subways. And buses in terms of bunching up and not enough seats at the bus stops and not enough buses, period.
Right. Now, what about homeless? How can we... veterans who fought for us. Every time when I'm walking around, because I'm walking the city 24/7, I never take a cab. I'm walking, taking the subways, taking the bus. You see homeless. Maybe less homeless than before, but you still see homeless, and you see veteran homeless, which to me is so unacceptable.
Well, first of all, there are many more homeless than there were 12 years ago. There are now 50,000 people.
The number keeps increasing. What's the on the year? What's the more or less? What's the rate?
Well, in early 2002, it was like 20,000. It is now 50,000, and there are 20,000 children. So when we say homeless, what we mean today is people who are in a temporary shelter. Now it could be, a unit with a bathroom and a kitchen, but you're very temporary, and you're constantly being told, you have to talk to your caseworker, you have to find an apartment, you have to find a job. It's very regimented.
Right, but what do you do? It's not that easy, because a lot of these people who are homeless...
But there's no place to go.
There's no place to go. And the problem is, which I think is a huge problem, even I heard Barbara Streisand talking about it with in CNN a while back. She said that, the mental problems, the attention should be addressed to mental health. There's a lot of the homeless, they suffer from mental illnesses.
I feel strongly, but just to go back, the veterans have the same issue. We do not have people come back, and more are going to come back from Iraq and Afghanistan, even than exist now. And we do not have necessarily jobs, even though they may have developed skills in Iraq and Afghanistan. There's, again, that mismatch of skills and jobs. So I want to just make sure we don't forget your excellent question about the homeless and people
it's
who are
upsetting
veterans.
For me to go and I'm walking in the streets and I see that's her, my makeup girl, Kelly Gamache. She's in the room. Thank you for coming by, baby. You're looking good. When I see him homeless, holding, I'm a veteran, I'm homeless, I'm hungry.
Right.
Something is wrong with that picture. This is the United States of America. This is what we call the first world, right? So, I mean, to me, I don't know, it's just infuriating when I see that.
There's two issues. One is how much the federal government should be supporting and how much the local government. Some of that is unfortunate, but it is not that, you know, the public needs to hear that. But it does seem to me that the Department of Defense, which has God knows how much money, right?
Right.
They can, trillions that they've been spending on all these wars.
Right, it's a business, as we know.
Should be spending it on returning veterans, and obviously veterans who have challenges need to be addressed.
Right, you got to take care of people who fought. I mean, this is, it's crazy the amount of money. I know the government is about priorities.
No, I think this should be a priority.
But it should be our priority.
And the mental health, I totally agree with you and Barbara Streisand. I mean, I'm a believer in culturally appropriate mental health services in the schools, you know, where they...
From early age.
From early
kids,
age.
They need help.
And not stigmatized, you know, services that feel like they're part of physical health and part of the everyday regimen, nothing special, but just somebody to talk to.
Right.
It
can make a big difference.
It makes a huge difference.
Huge difference.
But I have not been successful advocating the way I would like.
No, let me ask you, what kind of obstacles do you run into on your daily life doing your work? What like when you get home late at night and you have a rough day, that you know things maybe didn't go the way you wanted to go. What kind of obstacles do you run into?
Interesting. I mean, we did manage to pass the paid sick days, which was going to give paid sick days to 1 million New Yorkers who don't have it starting next April.
Okay.
But that would be an
That's
example.
a big accomplishment.
It's huge. But it took us 3 years.
Right.
And so there were days when we had like a press conference and a conference call and meetings and met with doctors and parents and workers, and you never think that you were going to get it. So the issue would be affordable housing. You know, you have yet another family or yet another group of people who are maybe the building's being emptied by the landlord, or you're tearing your hair out trying to find, and there's nothing available. At all. It's not like there's something. And also you have the New York City Housing Authority with 180,000 units in the city. We have a lot of developments in my district. The maintenance, the fixing up of the apartments, it can take a year.
Or maybe more.
For somebody to come and fix the mold or the ceiling or whatever. So the answer to your question is you write, you call, you write, you call.
And you don't
give
relentless.
Up, but it's frustrating.
It's frustrating.
And you just know that this is just one tiny little example. And there are, 400,000 others similar problems in the building. So I think the answer to your question is you come home at the end of the day, you've done some good, but you got a long list of things that are very hard to accomplish. It's a big city. It's a $70 billion budget. The United States is bigger, state of California, state of New York, and I think maybe Florida, but we're bigger than New Jersey and Connecticut. We're big. We're really big. So to move things is
it takes time.
It takes time, but people are at the other end, and sometimes it's frustrating because you can see light, but it takes so long to get there. I mean, the mental health services, people don't like to talk about it.
But they should, because it's needed.
They should.
It's needed. From school, kids, they need to have
support. Yeah. I mean, I've been in some schools where they have like a fabulous African-American male social worker. He's it. He's fantastic. He's in the mental health field. He's in the physical health office with the nurse. And people come in, parents come in, teachers come in. The school is calm. Everybody gets answers to their questions. But that kind of person doesn't exist in a lot of schools, just a nurse.